Undertaker's once again under the management of Paul Bearer, despite his reluctance at everything that's happened between Undertaker and Bearer, because Paul Bearer claimed that he had a hidden secret that he was going to use to manipulate the Undertaker into complying with his demands. We won't find out what that big secret is for a few months yet.
God.
That's gotta be K-Wang. No, it's
gotta be
Quang.
Quang.
It's gotta be Quang. Gotta be Quang. Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to the Attitude of Aggression Wrestling podcast. Welcome back to the Big Five Project here, as it's been a while. It's right. It has been a while since we did one of these shows, but we are back here to talk classic wrestling. And specifically on this episode, we will be discussing in excruciating detail, or maybe not, King of the Ring 1997. I am here tonight with my good buddy, my partner in crime, the one and only, the man himself, the commissioner, Mr. Negative 37. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to call him that tonight. A little bit late start here tonight. We ran into some like really odd and unexpected technical difficulties, but we got going here.
It's like I'm playing basketball again, and I'm in there, and I don't want the star to get the foul, so just raise my hand. That was on me. I did that. It's my fault.
Yeah, my bad. That was all me. But no, it was a weird thing, but on I think it was something voice meter related, which doesn't surprise me, but not your fault, Tunney. It is what it is.
No,
man.
it was definitely human related. Nobody else turned that down to negative 37, but good old PC Tunney. But I'm glad to be here. Our trysts with the dragon, our latest tryst with the dragons is over until next time, but it is also good news to hear that I guess season 4 is going to start filming in October, Dave. So breaking news here on Attitude of Aggression.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get back to more unidentified history. We speak in alphabet when we talk podcasts with those of us who are heavily involved in the network.
We're like UAP GERB speaks in acronyms, and we kind of do the same thing. It's like, yeah, we're, but yeah, with, as Tony indicated, Game Gone Wrong is on hiatus for now. Hopefully we get Night of the Nine Kingdoms back. I'm hoping January, man. You know, that'd be great if it comes out like when
it's probably going to be later than that. I would say probably April.
I mean, I can live with that. That's okay. But we're gonna get Night of the Seven Kingdoms will come back, and we'll pick Game Gone Wrong up, and we may do a few things here and there. Like Tony just mentioned, we got breaking news today that they are going to start filming in October. There's a loose rumor that I shared with you in the Shirtless One earlier about Emma Darcy possibly playing Professor Xavier's love interest in an X-Men movie. I'm all for it, man. Let's go. But speaking of the Shirtless One, he can't be here tonight because he's just big timing us as usual, you know, but he would actually be wearing a shirt for this show. I'm sorry, ladies. It would be very disappointing, but you know, they'll get over it, man. The ladies will get over it. But we're going to talk King of the Ring 1997. We are still in the midst of 1997. I'll say this before we get into any of this stuff. We were kind of talking a little bit before we jumped online, and man, I just got done with King of the Ring 1998, watching through that. And I think I'd like seen that once before, like when it happened live, and I had not gone back to it since, other than, you know, maybe the Hell in the Cell match, which I noticed conveniently when they remember in the lead up for SummerSlam, they were showing all of the best Hell in the Cell matches. Right. And they conveniently omitted Undertaker versus Mick Foley because they're pissed off at Mick, which is typical petty WWE bullshit. And I'm like, you cannot leave that match out of a countdown of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time. But I got to tell you, man, that whole fucking card is amazing. I mean, I had forgotten because you just get lost in the whole Mankind Undertaker thing and you forget how awesome. I mean, the Austin Kane first blood match comes right after that. I mean, that kind of holds up despite what it just followed, but that's for another time. We're not talking about that here tonight. Here tonight, we're a year earlier talking King of the Ring 1997. But before we get into that, as we typically always do on these shows, let's talk a little bit about what is currently going on in WWE. And I think probably the biggest story that we've got this week, Tony, is Ilya Dragunov apparently leaving WWE. His contract expired. There's some conflicting information as to whether I think WWE offered him a contract or tried to keep him in there and it didn't work out, or Dragunov just wasn't interested. And he has now been moved to the alumni section. And I don't know, man. I just wanted to get your feel because I didn't get a chance to tune into to DWI yesterday. But how are you feeling about WWE's direction right now? I mean, there's been kind of an exodus of talent. Sheamus leaving was a hit. Ilya Dragunov is probably, he's younger, a little bit of a bigger hit. But, to be fair, in the Big Five chat that still exists over on X, Dragunov wasn't very popular with, with us. We thought he was great, but the average fan out there, WWE fan, was like, who? Ilya what? So I don't know. I mean, he wasn't being used. And I think a lot of people were commenting when Brock Lesnar really just dismantled him. I think it was at the Rumble or something. Dragunov was never on the same trajectory. But what do you think about this one? Is this a big loss for WWE, or is it like no big deal?
No big deal. Honestly, no really big deal whatsoever. Oh, Mike's in the chat. There he is.
Yeah, lots of names I've not heard in a while in this
Just
one.
wait, Mike. Just wait. We'll get done with the today stuff and get back to the really good stuff that we're actually getting into. Like Dave was talking about. Like it's going to be banger. Speaking of Sheamus, after banger, after banger,
After banger, after
right?
banger.
As everything we cover in the Big Five. So
when is Drew McIntyre coming back? That's what I want to know.
He's done with probably his Highlander reshoots.
There can be only one.
Here, I'll explain it to you this way. DP and I didn't talk about this at all yesterday.
No, okay, wow.
And on top of that, like my thoughts on WWE right now, DP and I have had 3 really long shows the last 3 weeks, like an hour and 45 minutes, just the two of us reviewing SummerSlam, I believe. Then the next week, those weeks that are not previews or reviews aren't always as easy as those weeks, as after doing multiple hundreds of episodes like we've both done. And we went over an hour last week. This week, we weren't even going to try to go 45 minutes. We almost went an hour. So, we've just been kind of recapping Raw and SmackDown, and I think it's been really good. I think it's been interesting. I think the interim thing is going on right now is interesting. I think the AAA affiliation and crossover is super interesting. On top of that, what you got going on with the Bloodline is excellent again right now. So I don't know. I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse in our live, current time recap, but that's kind of where we're at. I think we're absolutely happy about it as a show that's done over 500 episodes and all about the main roster. That's all we're about, really. Unless something huge is happening outside of it, we're covering the main roster.
Right. I mean, and NXT is NXT right now, and I'm still trying to figure out why Naruku, formerly known as Evil, is losing to guys like Tony D'Angelo. But I'll let that go. But
do you think who could be Shinsuke's partner? By the way, it's known? Is it Takahashi?
Known. It's Takahashi. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Dan brought that up yesterday, and I was like, well, how do you know? Are you sure you didn't mean Tanahashi? And he's like, just because Dan doesn't know, that would be a lot better, but he's a little past that.
When they were kind of talking about it, when Shinsuke was talking about it, I thought for a minute maybe they were going to try and bring in Tetsuya Naito, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't think Naito really wants to leave Japan. But no, Takahashi's a big find. And it does look like, if they are bringing in Takahashi, then it does seem like maybe WWE is trying to revamp the tag team division a little bit. And God knows they need it. because the tag team division has been, you've got the MFTs, right? They won the titles a week ago, I think. Who is it? Tama and Tala, right? Is that
Tama
Tama
and Tala. Tama and
Tama and
Tala.
Tala? Yeah.
Tala.
It's hard to keep these Tongans straight, man.
It's Tala Tonga, but DP and I like to call him Taller Tonga.
He is taller Tonga. That's a really easy way to figure it out. But I love them getting the belts on them. And look, I have nothing but respect for Damian Priest and R-Truth, but I think that was the right move to get the titles on them. And who are the other tag champs right now? I don't even remember who they are.
Vision.
And
Isn't it
Division, that's right.
Isn't it Steiner? Yeah.
Yeah. Braun and Austin. So yeah, I'm all for them getting like the tag titles, getting the tag team scene back on track and doing something with that and making it more relevant. And I love the thought of Shinsuke and Takahashi, because that is a extremely dangerous team to put out there if they're going to run with the tag team titles. Like you were saying, the bloodline has gotten interesting again. I think they finally succeeded in getting the fans behind Solo Sikoa. And I know they've been trying that for a couple of months now by aligning him with LA Knight, but that seems to have finally paid some dividends now. And Solo is pretty well over at this point. And the fans really, when he spiked the OTC this past week, right in the throat, and then Roman tried to sucker him and ended up getting BFT'd by LA Knight. Yeah, I think it's good. And maybe now, Roman has got that OTC thing. He's never really formally been like, oh, I'm a babyface. The fans just kind of made him one. But getting back to that heel faction with the Usos and this whole, on the one hand, you're like, well, the bloodline, we've seen this story for how many years running now? What else can they do with this thing? But they keep coming up with new ways of reinventing it. Zilla's over in NXT. He's doing some stuff over there. So the bloodline just keeps churning out people. But, how are you feeling about the whole bloodline thing going on?
No, we're loving it. We've been calling for Solo to continue his face turn. That walk, them walking him down to the ring was so great. Like the interactions between the twins and Solo is so excellent. Like you could see them like trying to break each other, and Jacob like almost breaking in the ring. Like we talked about it yesterday, like how awesome is it these guys grew up together and now they're like putting on the main event, the closed Raw, just having fun with it. And they've been doing it for a while, right? Jacob's the wild card too. Could we see Solo have his own faction with LA Knight and Jacob and Royce Keys? Could that be your war games this year? Back to Solo's crew against Roman's crew, right? Because now we got to start thinking about that, because basically it's Sunday night's main event, Labor Day weekend. You got Money in the Bank in early October, and I don't know what comes between that and Survivor Series. It might be another main event.
No, they're going to do Crown Jewels coming up in November in Saudi. I think they just announced that.
Okay, so that's great. I love daytime pay-per-views.
Yeah, but that is true. It's like if they're going to do Crown Jewel in November, where does that fit in? Where do you wedge that in with Survivor Series, which is also that month? But
see, speaking of the bloodline too, and this is kind of related to the tag team thing we've been talking about before, it looks like Penta and Rey Fenix will be facing off in the finals to face Roman Reigns in AAA for that title. So why not somehow get those two guys back together, and let's get a feud going with the Usos and the Lucha Bros. Like, you can't miss out on having that while you have all four of these guys. You know what I mean? They're two of the most legendary tag teams in their genres.
Yeah. I would love to see the Lucha Bros get back together. It's well overdue to put that team back together and get them going.
It's an easy transition with this tournament too. Like Penta doesn't have the title anymore. Like it's they can have some kind of interference. Like the Usos come out to help Roman. Rey makes a save, but Roman still wins, and now they're pissed at the Usos. Now we get back together and have a tag team feud.
Mike, I feel bad for the guys you just mentioned. Yeah, they're going to be okay, Mike. They're making plenty of money right now.
Undertaker, HBK, Bret Hart.
Yeah, exactly. This is we are in the, and it's not even really gotten to the glory days of the Attitude Era quite yet. That's coming up. But other thing I was going to mention is, like, you talked about the interim stuff last week. Last week where Chelsea Green looked like she was going to have to vacate the interim title due to the orbital bone fracture, and Nick Aldis says, as general manager, I know what the right thing to do is, but as a person, you're the chair. You got 30 days to get cleared, which I think is great for that. Boy, what a mess that would be. Rhea is probably out longer than we thought because of the knee surgery. Chelsea gets the title and then gets her face broken. And, they got to do, what do you do there except run something to crown just a regular champion, which is like, wow, it's just no luck at all on this.
We joked about an interim title.
Double interim, yeah.
It would be super hilarious if it was for the men, but for the women, it would get shit on because you're doing this stupid funny thing because it's the women, No, Chelsea should be able to defend at Sunday night's main event. That's within 30 days, I believe, or else they'll do it on a SmackDown, right? I thought the interaction with Gunther was excellent because you're not going to get physical altercation between the two, but you did get this verbal back and forth, and I thought Chelsea more than held her own while interacting with Gunther, and that's a big rub for Chelsea as a champion, I think. I thought that was the most important thing that happened for her on Friday.
And Cardona had a really good match with Gunther. He came out there, defended his wife's honor.
Both of them wearing pants. Yeah. Don't you hate pants? I hate pants. Don't you hate pants?
I hate pants. Yeah. But I like seeing Matt get some work in there, especially with a guy like Gunther, because it's
too.
Yeah, he is. He's excellent, underrated, and hopefully they do something with him. But
he's big. He's big enough to get in the ring with Gunther in that type of matchup and go, "Whoa, Gunther! Wow, he did something there." Because Cardona's not a small person.
All right, I'm gonna let you tackle this one, Tunney, because you have not been on the Gunther train.
No, he's gotten better, Mike. He's gotten better. Trust me. Like him and Rhea Ripley, I had to, they had to earn their stripes with me. But you just kind of gotta. I know, Mike. Nothing's ever going to be as good as the Attitude Era. Trust me. I was in high school and college during the Attitude Era. So, come on. No one's ever going to talk me out of it. I've been dying to get to where we're getting to and covering these things right now. You just ask Dave, and I'll probably be sad once we get past middle of 2005. But things are pretty good right now for WWE, folks. I got to tell you, there's a lot of big stars. There's a lot of good middle-aged stars, and there's even more younger stars. I call Javon Evans unforgettable. I call Trick Williams undeniable. And you call Obafemi unmatched.
Yeah. Here you go, Mike, asking, can we not get a giant? The guy you just mentioned is as close as we've got to a giant. Obafemi is Mike, I don't know if you've seen Oba yet. This is a massive dude.
And Cass is back looking pretty good, too.
Yeah, Cass is back. Yeah, we need to get to the point where he's not just throwing Javon Evans around. Speaking of Cass, are we going to get Enzo back, or are we just, I wouldn't hate it, but Cass can stand on his own right now. And I don't know if you really need. If you're going to revamp the tag division, then maybe. But
the Judgment Day.
Ooh, that'd be kind of fun.
Tom kind of came out there.
I can't imagine why Corey's got issues with Cass. But speaking of, Sunday night's main event, we know two matches that are coming up on here.
We do. Big one.
Cody and Randy Orton are going to meet in a WrestleMania rematch because they've been going at each other. And then we got aforementioned Obafemi taking on Braun Breaker, which should be a hell of a fight. I'm sure we'll get a couple more matches. Punk and Kevin Owens, they're doing what? Aren't they fighting tonight? Is that what's going on? Or is that next week? But I know we're going to get I don't know. I know we're getting Punk and Kevin Owens, and they've been doing a good job, those two guys, as far as building up this whole idea that there's real, shoot hatred between Kevin Owens and CM Punk. And I'm not sure I buy into all that stuff, but that's been fun so far. And could he actually win the title from Punk? I don't think so either, but
tonight. It is tonight. Wow. Okay. All right. So yeah, it's 7:23 Eastern time live here on the Attitude of Aggression YouTube channel, Big 5 King of the Ring 97 version. And I would say in about 2 hours and 10 minutes or so, you will probably see that match on your local USA, well, on USA Network. It's a national kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm kind of glad that I didn't realize it was tonight. And I'm kind of glad that they're going to be, I don't know if they're going to be done with this, but this portion of it where it's just these two is going to be over after tonight. I fully expect Sami Zayn to get involved. Like, Punk's not losing this, right? Punk makes Kevin Owens look small, and that's kind of sad.
Well, Punk is in the best shape of his life right now, and lots of rumors about how he got that way.
Oh, I
But
don't know. If you listen to an interview with him and Stephanie, like, he got with a trainer, I forget who the guy, and I think we talked about this before, and like, he is so completely rigid. He knows this is it, right?
this is probably his last true, really great run. I mean, this is probably the last time he's going to hold that championship.
His run. You're like, he's gonna not do anything after he's done here in WWE. He'll coach,
I mean,
maybe.
yeah,
You know, he might
maybe
take
to do
over
something in NXT.
NXT. Maybe they move down to Florida or down to Vegas or whatever. But I don't know. I couldn't see him living in Vegas though.
No, that's true. But yeah, I mean, Sunday night's main event, I mean, that'll be really good. I'm looking forward to Oba versus Braun. I mean, part of me says, look, if Brock Lesnar can't beat him, how chance do you have, Braun? But
we brought up the question yesterday. Is it too soon for this?
well, the one thing I'm wondering is we've seen pictures of people who are like in tremendous shape right now, and we'd share this in the Big Five chat. Bronson Reed is getting ready to come back, and this dude looks, holy shit, what a transformation from the Oxzilla to the dude is shredded. And I mean, he's probably dropped what, 50, 60, 70 pounds?
Yeah, he's going to look like a different person physically, which is great. He's the only chance the Vision has.
Yes.
Because Paul Heyman really doesn't want anything to do with the Vision. He doesn't mind having anything to do with Braun Breaker. He wouldn't mind Braun Breaker being his guy. Maybe that's what this is for between Braun and Oba, who Paul goes with, right? I don't know that Paul should really ever go with anybody ever again. I think Paul might just be kind of done now. I don't like, what do you see for Paul now? I don't know. It's so difficult to go through the things that he's gone through, right? From Brock to Punk to Brock
Roman
to
Brock
to help Punk to
Seth and
to the Vision, back to like being nice to Oba and talking shit to the Vision halfway. Like, I don't, it's fine, it's all good, but it's not peak at all. It hasn't been for a while.
It hasn't been, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Sunday night's main event should be really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what Bronson Reed looks like. I want to see that transformation in full form, because I agree that he might be the saving grace for the Vision right now, because I mean, fucking Austin's trying to like bash Maxine's head into the fucking back of a wall or something. It's not good, man. It's not good. You see that where Austin Theory was carrying Maxine out with the title and hit the back of her head on like the overhang of the door? It's like, dude. Mike says that Heyman should go back to creative because WWE needs some help. I mean, I wouldn't hate Paul.
He's been in creative the entire time.
Have you started watching AEW again yet, Tony? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, there it is. The standard. You lean in and
if you watch Unreal, you know that Paul Heyman is a part of the main creative writing meetings.
Yeah, he is.
He has always been, actually. He's had a few breaks, but basically since, right about now, and where we're covering, because ECW is a thing in 97.
It is.
Right? So
it is.
Like, in a very small way, but I think it's probably already being funded by Vince.
Yeah, we're about to talk some, and there is some ECW stuff that's going on as far as King of the Ring 97 and what is happening with ECW when this takes place. All I'll say about AEW is that we're at the point again now where there's enough talent floating out there. There are enough free agents that if Tony wants to make a move,
but he doesn't know what to do with them when he gets them. He doesn't know what to do with
Tony. Tony's been watching Sasha. Tony's we always watch Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné, even if
and by the way, Mike,
Well, no, you're right. The thing is, has Tony learned anything over the past couple years? He had this opportunity before, he fumbled it away. Now you've got an opportunity where you've got, I mean, just look at who he can bring in short order. You can bring in the New Day, you can bring in Sheamus, he may be able to snag Bailey, and he can bring in Dragunov. That's a
Well,
good get.
Bailey's definitely going there because she wants to do something with Sasha, right?
Sure.
So,
Right. I would
I mean,
think so.
Bailey can be the only woman to hold the WWE and AEW women's tag titles. I don't think anybody else has done that,
That's a
right?
super grand slam there. I mean, well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Is it? Is
Sasha's
it?
never been.
Is it like going from the majors then down to double A and hitting a home run and going, oh, I'm a super grand slam now?
Well, I mean,
That's what
think
they
about
should
it.
call it. Double AEW. That's what it should be. Yeah, because that's how bad it is. It's not even triple
So
A, it's double AEW.
what's interesting about Mercedes is, despite her being the belt collector for those time in AEW, I don't think she's been the AEW Women's World Champion. She's been like their secondary
No,
champion, but I
she's
don't.
won their world
Has
once, I
she?
think. But
So
she's
she's
been around
already she.
like the TBS championship or whatever their women's IC title is.
So she's accomplished that already. So she's already got that
I
under
mean,
under her belt. But all right.
whatever. They're so far gone. When he actually gives somebody full reign on creative and lets them actually build like 6 to 8, 10, 12-month storylines in multiple divisions, they're not going anywhere besides where they're at. We've been saying it for a better part of half a decade, and they still have the same amount of followers and watchers and listeners and blah, 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 blah. They're the same fan.
They
It's
still don't know. They don't know who they are. I mean,
well, that's sad because it's been a long time now. It's not just like, hey, we're in the third or fourth year. Like, how long has AEW been around?
since 2019.
All right, so we're in the 7th or 8th year now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, they still don't know whether are they ultra violent like a CZW, or are they something different, or are they trying to be WWE? Are they trying to be TNA? Are they CZW? And you can't appeal to all the masters at once and expect to have anything cogent
I
come
don't
out of that.
know. I don't know Tony Khan. I don't know anything about him except for what you can see on TV and read about, right? I'm sure he's a very nice person and I'm sure he's really smart and I'm sure he's very polite to people, but you know, you can't expect to run it the way you run it and be successful. It just doesn't work. And until you hand the reins over to somebody that knows what's going on, you haven't never learned. You can't keep learning on the job here and expect to get better. They're just not. It's not
So
good.
Mike says somebody should hire Baron Corbin for the GM again. He's too busy being the United States champion right now, Mike. He doesn't have time to be GM too. So
It's a true story.
I mean, he's too busy getting hit in the back by Little Yachty and all sorts of fun stuff. But all right, enough messing around. Let's get into what we came here tonight to talk about: King of the Ring 1997, which comes our way June 8th, 1997, from Providence, Rhode Island. I'm sorry, Tony. I'll keep saying this till it's not a thing anymore. Vince McMahon is still on commentary with Jim Ross. So we have not gotten rid of that
Well,
yet. I
I
know
mean, Jerry's got some business to take care of.
Jerry does have some business to take care of, at least a little bit. This event, so when last we talked, when we finished off WrestleMania 13, which was the last Big Five project that we did, Undertaker had captured the championship from Psycho Sid. We had one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time involving Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart. They're far from done with each other. Shawn Michaels was on commentary trying to get his smile back. And between WrestleMania 13 and King of the Ring 1997, he does get his smile back. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think, let's just kind of run through kind of the storylines that were going on. Obviously, the big thing about King of the Ring, at least this year, is still the tournament. And, the tournament the year before was where we got Austin 316 says, I'll just whip your ass. And Mike's already, he knows that Lawler's still wrestling at this point. He actually wrestles on this one. He's in the semifinals. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, and Lawler's actually going all over the place. Speaking of ECW, he'll be involved. We'll talk about Lawler being involved in ECW there. But so some interesting stuff. So the tournament for this one, for the King of the Ring this time around, started on Raw, May 12th, 1997. Ahmed Johnson beat Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a first quarterfinal match by disqualification. But in an interesting, very lawyerly move by Hunter Hearst Helmsley, on May 19th, Helmsley got another spot in the tournament because he was not properly instructed before his match with Ahmed that you could lose by overruled. He was not informed that you could lose by disqualification, which of course is like, it's always in play unless it's a no DQ match, Hunter. I'm not sure where we're getting this from, but he thought King of the Ring, something different. So he threatened to sue WWE, and their solution was to put him back in the tournament and advance him to a semifinal. Now, the reason he got in there was because he replaced Vader, who was going to wrestle Crush, but Vader got injured in a no-holds-barred match against Ken Shamrock at In Your House 15. A Cold Day in Hell was the title for that. And I had not watched that match, and I probably should go watch it, but just the description of this Ken Shamrock Vader match, two big dudes who, to say they were both stiff in the ring is a disgrace to the word stiff. And Vader ended up like, dude, he got like his nose broken. He got like his sternum crushed or something. He was just a mess. So he had to pull out due to, Shamrock's coming from UFC. He still is not really perfected his craft or anywhere close to it. And I think this probably turned into a bit of a shoot match. And Vader's not going to fare well against Ken Shamrock in that situation.
I would imagine Shamrock came in expecting not what he got from Vader. And once Vader wasn't going to play nice, Shamrock's like,
okay.
You like, it kind of turns into an Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle situation at that point, right? Like you just picked the wrong guy. You knew it too, when we did the Mount Rushmore of legit WWE superstars or overall wrestling superstars, I think DP and I, both of these guys were on the list at least. Ken's on my Mount Rushmore. So yeah, what did you expect? That begs the question though, like, okay, so if that's actually what happened, then Vince's plan wasn't for Hunter to win this King of the Ring.
Probably not. Yeah,
So
which is interesting because of what happened a year earlier.
Was it Vader or was it somebody else and he just changed his mind because this person is going to get pushed in again, and shit, I was going to do it last year. Why don't I just do it now? It's inevitable.
Yeah, it could have been Ahmed, but Ahmed gets hurt as well. So, because he's injury prone at this point. But yeah, that's a good point, Tony. Like the year before it was supposed to be Hunter. Then we had the curtain call. They pivoted to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And of course, Vince gets lucky as he has the penchant for doing it numerous times.
You don't become that successful by being lucky. So
no, I'm not saying solely luck, but things worked out well for Vince when he would make a certain decision and that whole thing goes down. But anyway, so Helmsley ends up beating Crush when he gets put back in here. He advances to the semifinals and he's going to take on, I think it is Ahmed Johnson in the semifinals of this tournament.
Yeah.
On the other side of the bracket, we get Jerry Lawler defeats Goldust in the third quarterfinal match. We're talking about Lawler somehow. Yeah, gold. Exactly. And then you had in the last quarterfinal match, you had Mankind defeating Savio Vega, which that sets up our semifinal matches. We've got
K-Wang.
I don't know if he's still, no, he's Savio now. He's not K-Wang.
K-Wang. So. Oh, then here's the death of K-Wang.
Mike says, not a fan of Sasha Banks. That's the Miller Lite talking. It might be. I think you're more of a fan.
You know what, Mike? Just for you, I'm going to go get another one.
You're more of a fan than Sasha Banks and Mercedes Moné. We'll put it that way. There's two other big feuds that are heading into King of the Ring 97. The big one is for the championship. And we're going to get the main event of King of the Ring 97 is Undertaker versus Faarooq for the WWF Championship. On that May 12th episode of Raw, Undertaker he was taking on Savio Vega. Sorry, Tony.
Yeah.
Non-title match. Faarooq attacks. He interferes. He attacks the Undertaker on the May 31st episode of Shotgun. This is back in the days when Shotgun was still going on. Faarooq, Crush, and Vega defeat the team of that. How about this for a fucking crazy team? So you got Faarooq, Crush, and Vega on one side. They take on the Undertaker, Mankind, and Vader. It's like, how are these guys possibly going to get along? They apparently didn't, because it's a 6-man tag team match, and Faarooq, Crush, the Nation wins that whole thing. So this is what leads to the championship match between Undertaker and Faarooq at King of the Ring. And to really add on some wild shit about this whole thing, Undertaker's once again under the management of Paul Bearer, despite his reluctance and everything that's happened between Undertaker and Bearer, because Paul Bearer claimed that he had a hidden secret that he was going to use to manipulate the Undertaker into complying with his demands. We won't find out what that big secret is for a few months yet.
God.
That's gotta be K-Wang.
Quang.
No, it's
Gotta be
Quang.
Quang.
It's gotta be Quang.
Quang.
Gotta be Quang.
That's okay. I just want to apologize to anybody watching or listening. That was the peak of the episode. We're gonna do our best to try and maintain from here on out.
That's gotta be Quang. Yeah, I got you.
Like if this show got titled like Bandwagon Nerds or Pot of War or DWI,
It's gotta be Quang.
Gotta be Quang. Yeah.
Hey, it'll just be probably me and you this Sunday for Bandwagon Nerds, so you don't know. We might be able to slip that in if you get my drift. Yeah,
that's what she said.
Slide it in.
Slip in the Quang.
Slip in the Quang. There's our episode title already.
Wow, dude.
Now, the last match I want to talk about, the last storyline, and this is really cool because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. Now, Shawn does find his smile enough to come back with Austin. And on the May 26th episode of Raw, Austin and Michaels actually defeat Owen Hart and the British Bulldog to win the WWF Tag Team Championships. So after they win this thing, Austin goes and he fights with Bret Hart. Shawn Michaels gets attacked by the rest of the Hart Foundation. So now the new champions are bitching at each other. They're pissed off. On the June 2nd episode of Raw, Austin and Michaels begin fighting each other, even though they're defending the title against the Legion of Doom. And this leads to a match between Austin and Michaels at King of the Ring to determine who's the captain of the team. So that's like the only thing that's really on the line. But what's important about that match, and we'll get into it, is we're 9-ish months before their most famous match happening at WrestleMania 14, where the Austin era really kicks off when Stone Cold beats Shawn for the championship. And you always wondered in that match, what would that have been if Shawn hadn't been hurt? And you kind of get to see it in this match here that we're going to talk about tonight and say, oh yeah, okay. When Shawn was healthy and not, damn near not broken his back, like will happen at the beginning of 1998. Now, Austin's got all sorts of problems with his neck, as we'll talk about, but I don't know. What do you think, man? That's kind of the background going into King of the Ring 1997. I mean, there's some really good stuff. The roster's still really thin at this point in time. They're still having problems filling slots, but what do you think, man? Not bad.
Shout out to the ladies, man. Yeah, I just filled a slot this morning. What a great comedic movie. We've been talking for a couple years as the Big Five project goes, that a lot of the pieces have been there. They just haven't been in the right places. Well, a lot more of the pieces are in the right places. You know what I mean? But there's still some key pieces that are not being utilized or in the correct place. And one is very glaring. We'll get to in the very first televised match, which is interesting. Or no, we'll get to when I bring up the free for all match. Sorry.
Right, because one of the components missing from this whole equation is, of course, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Bret is out because he has had a pretty serious knee injury, and he had some surgery on the knee that was going to keep him out for a while. And behind the scenes, man, there's some real nasty shit that's actually, we've talked about the rivalry between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, which of course will explode near the end of 1997. But, things have gone from respectful with each other to real fights in the back, like shoot fights in the back where Shawn Michaels, maybe he was inebriated, maybe he wasn't coming in the ring and talking about Bret having some sunny days. That created a lot of problems for Bret at home. I can't imagine why. I mean, if you watch Bret's documentary, or read his book, you realize that Fidelity and Bret Hart did not go together at all. He was like the Dick Grayson of WWE at this point. He was laying pipe and all over the place,
Well,
Bret was not.
The problem was though, like Shawn's not married, Bret is married, right?
Right.
So.
Right. And, and Bret was just like, couldn't understand why Shawn would go to those depths to bring that whole situation into it. Whether Bret was, getting it on with Sonny or not, can't blame him if he was. But that whole erupts into like, and I don't know if it's between here. I think it's right before Canadian Stampede because that has an impact on the Canadian Stampede card, which we're going to talk about the next time on the Big Five Project. Our first official side quest is coming up next time, guys. But they get into a big fight in the back. Like I know Bret grabs Shawn by the hair and like pulls out a bunch of his hair, and like Shawn's got a noticeable bald spot. So, the whole situation with Bret and Shawn has truly exploded and gotten really ugly, and you get to see that stuff happen here. But talk to me about the dark matches, Tony, the free for all matches. What did we miss on the free for all stuff?
Well, Dave, it was just for your information, there was only 9,312 people at the Providence Civic Center that day.
Yeah, I know Vince was saying capacity crowd, but they had like 14,000 for the Rumble a couple years earlier. But hey, Vince, what would Vince ever exaggerate crowd totals, Tony?
No. So the Headbangers defeated Bart Gunn and Jesse James. Almost. We're almost there. A really big almost. The wrong gun is with Jesse.
Wrong gun.
Yeah,
the wrong gun. There's a episode
there.
title.
Right? You see what I'm saying, though? Like, just to capitalize on what we really kind of been talking about, the right people in the right places, and I mentioned we're getting there. Here's a glaring one that's just so close. You just got the wrong gun in the match. That's all.
Mike's asking, Anvil never said anything to Bret about it. I'm not sure about what exactly. That would be what I'm wondering about. Stop being a whore. I mean, I'm not sure that Anvil would have had a lot of luck with Bret anyway. So I don't know.
I
but
could see if it was the other way around because it was Bret's sister who was married to the Anvil, but why would Anvil give a shit?
Yeah, Jim had his own issues at this point in time. So, I mean, that I'm not sure what he would have said. And Bret was really, if you read Bret's book, he was very clandestine about it. Yeah, he was whoring around, but he wasn't like overt. It wasn't in your face. It was just, I mean, I don't know what you can say about it other than husband of the year and Bret Hart. No, never.
I didn't love any of them, baby. It was just fucking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We fucked. I make love to you. If you're going to let a little fuck come between our love, baby, there's something really wrong here. Shout out to Eddie Murphy.
I'd say so.
What else did we get on the free for all there, buddy?
That was
it. That was it. Okay.
That was it.
Going back to the whole Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels thing, what was interesting, what I learned about this card is that Hitman and Shawn Michaels were actually supposed to wrestle on this card. They were going to have a rematch of sorts, but Bret was still recovering from his knee surgery. And this was just like back in April. So he was still probably a few months away from being 100%. So they were looking at maybe a 6-month period where he would be sidelined. So they were going to have a simple match plan for Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And what they wanted to do, the original plan was for all of the Hearts Foundation's allies to be handcuffed to the ring post to prevent interference, right? And if Bret Hart couldn't beat Shawn Michaels in under 10 minutes, he could never wrestle in America again. So we got the whole Canadian American thing going on. Naturally, one of the Harts would still somehow interfere in the nick of time. It'd be a short match meant to keep Bret Hart's knee safe. And then things got ugly. And 3 weeks before King of the Ring is when we've got the whole, and yeah, I mean, the belief is that Shawn was inebriated when he did this and the whole sunny days thing, because Bret was so pissed off about this. And Bret, and here's the whole, and we're going to see this evolve from here to November of 1997. This whole thing about what is Bret Hart's real intentions, and Vince not sure where Bret stood with a lot of things, which is going to be a recurrent theme through the rest of 1997. And he thought, dude, Bret will really hurt Shawn if I put them in the ring together. So he canceled this match. This is one of these, is it an urban legend or is it a fact? With what happens with those guys later on in the actual throwdown in the backstage area, I tend to believe this one, Tony. What do you think? I mean, it kind of makes sense, man.
I've kind of loosened my stance on the whole situation. These are some old school guys. Vince will never tell you. Shawn just doesn't talk about it. And Bret has kept the gimmick all these years. Like literally has kept the gimmick on everything all these years. Post-stroke, everything else. I hate Goldberg. Shawn Michaels is gay. Fuck Vince. like he's held solid on all of those things, right? And
well, Goldberg for sure. I think that might be legit.
yeah, but I mean, he just came out and made the comments about Shawn. I'm sure he does not like Vince at all, regardless of whether or not, he came back and took that money. But that's what happened.
Shawn's got kids. I mean, I don't know, man. The rumors about Shawn and Vince have been for years
I don't
circulating out
believe
there.
any of that. What I'm saying is I'm more in the camp now of like, this is all a work because Vince couldn't pay Bret and Bret was going to go get paid. And so maybe the best thing they could do is controversy creates cash. I mean, Eric Bischoff wrote a book aptly, aptly named that. And,
I
they
think
weren't
you're going to
doing
have,
well. They
yeah.
weren't doing well. The NWO is just in its best place right now before it gets fat. So,
Well, we'll talk more about this in a few episodes of this, but you're going to have a hard time convincing me the Montreal Screw Job was all a work. I
well,
can't. I
you
mean,
get
I could
guys
see
that
the
are
argument. I could see the argument, but I don't buy it. But we'll talk when we get there and we get more people involved on that episode and
only
get some differing opinions.
only 4 people have to be in on it.
Well, sure. Yeah. And they were all, I mean, in the idea of Bret, Vince saying, you got to punch me as hard as you fucking can and knock me out to make it look real. Vince would do that. Sure. I'm not saying you wouldn't.
Only Bret and Shawn didn't even actually need to know, but we know he did know because he came out and admitted it, right?
Yeah.
Or
Hunter knew,
thought
Vince
so.
knew, Bret,
But
Shawn.
that's what
That's all you need.
well,
And maybe
I think,
Hefner.
but I think here's what I think. I think Vince, Shawn, Bret, and Earl knew. I don't think anybody else knew until it happened. And then later on down the road, they're like, let's come up with a story because it's the anniversary and we got to talk about it or something like that. I don't know. It's some
We,
unidentified history as far as I'm concerned.
there you go. A nice crossover.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, I mean, whoop, wrong one. This one here, Shawn and Vince, absolutely. They were in. Shawn knew the whole time. Shawn, there's no, to what Mike's point, I have zero doubt. I know for a fact 3 guys, possibly 4, knew about it. Clearly, Shawn knew it, Vince knew it,
Earl
Hunter
knew.
knew it, Earl knew it. Whether Bret knew or not is the biggest question and the biggest mystery and the biggest controversy. And like Tony, you bring up unidentified history, but in pro wrestling, it is like it's the fucking Roswell of pro wrestling, right? I mean, by far, the whole idea is like, was it a work? Was it not? Was Bret in on it? Don't know, but clearly Shawn and Vince and Hunter knew for sure. Earl probably knew.
You could do a full what if professional wrestling, like 8 episodes on different scenarios, like from this point in time. What if Bret stayed? What if Bret stayed and was mad? What if Bret stayed and he was happy? What if others left after Bret left because of it, right? Like there's the stories about when this happened, Mick Foley like no showed Raw or something, and Kane and like it was friends with Kane at the time and was like, "Are you going to Raw?" And he's like, "Man, I just got this gig. I need to keep the this money and everything." And he said, "Yeah, I'm going." And there were wrestlers that no showed Raw, and Vince just kind of let it go because of what happened for it. I don't know if it was this or for the Owen thing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But one
But
of the
I
both
mean,
those 2 things, like, people
and I
were like,
mean,
"Fuck." I
yeah,
might have been yeah.
and I don't want to get too lost in the weeds because we're going to talk about this soon enough. But
Yeah, I know,
I,
we're gonna have a huge episode on that, by the way.
Mike was saying if it's at any other location, I could see it work, but not there. Bret didn't know, and that I mean, it is in Montreal, and that's a valid point. That because I mean, if Bret was really that pissed off about, I don't want to drop the belt to Shawn, certainly not in Montreal. It does add to the whole thing. I mean, I don't know, man. It's and it's weird as we'll go along, especially starting on the next episode. This American Canadian split between this whole idea of how Bret Hart was perceived in America versus Canada.
Here's the biggest problem, though, that I have, like, all of this is known, like, at this very moment in time. King of the Ring, right? So why are we giving him the belt at SummerSlam?
Well, I don't know when they made that decision. I mean, but I know that you hate that title change, and that's coming up
No,
in
but
in a couple
I
episodes.
know
But
like that justifies the people who believe the screw job was a work.
a work could have been. I mean,
Because all the information we're talking about right now, and the reason you said the behind the scenes thing is that Vince didn't want Bret to kick, Shawn's ass. Well, okay, we already know we have problems. We already know what's going on. We already know we can't pay him. We already know that he's going to have I don't know if he has the offer yet or not, but what that timeline is huge to when he tells Bret he can't pay him, go ahead and take the offer, right? That's been established.
Yeah, we'll talk. There's going to be some conversation. We'll talk a little bit on this episode about
Give him the belt.
Bret and Vince are talking about certain things. A byproduct of the whole aspect of when the Shawn versus Bret match does not happen at King of the Ring 97, the byproduct of that is they end up scrapping another match, which is going to be Austin versus Pillman. So Austin and Pillman had their own issues going on.
Is this the gun time?
It was before that. This is the one where, Pillman's got a gun. Austin goes in there. You're not sure whether he's shot or not. And really, as we go along on this episode, because of what happens, Stone Cold ends up in the situation with Shawn Michaels where because, it doesn't make sense. These are tag team partners are going to fight each other over who's going to be the captain of the team. Who gives a fuck? But because Bret and Shawn don't happen, Vince pivots and said, all right, Stone Cold, shove Brian's head in the fucking toilet. And we're still going to try and figure out, hey, who put a camera in the toilet for this? I mean, we're just suspend your disbelief, kids, but it's still like we got a toilet cam. It's very interesting, but it's another match that we never really get to see a payoff between Austin and Pillman because Brian's got his own health problems. And in just a few months, he's gone. He's gone, not gone from the wrestling promotion, but gone from life. So it's an unfortunate situation, but they pivot away from the Austin Pillman thing to do this whole Austin versus Shawn Michaels aspect of things, which it's like, well, okay, I guess I can see that, but man, think about how King of the Ring 97 might have been a lot better. If you got Bret and Shawn, even in a short little match like they were coming up with, and you got Austin and Pillman in a full-blown match, assuming Pillman could have been healthy enough to carry it, you might be looking at this card a little bit different, right, Tony?
No, especially like paying off to the fans that are WCW old, get the Hollywood Blondes thing going on. You're kind of, but you mentioned before, you can't do Bret and Shawn right now, right? So that's the big problem. But yeah, it's kind of sad, Pillman had his thing in WWE and then it was just kind of sad.
Yeah. So let's talk before we get into this. I mean, there's still some backstory to discuss. A lot of things are going on behind the scenes at this event that really are all about forward momentum going forward. Obviously forward momentum if you're going forward for the rest of this year. But on June 2nd, which is 6 nights before King of the Ring, Bret Hart's he's still hurt, but he has a serious discussion with Vince. Exactly what you were just talking about, Tony. This 20-year contract that the Hitman had signed back in October, and Bret Hart will say that Vince told him that WWE was in, quote, financial peril, end quote, because Vince was doing a state of the WWE assessment. And Vince apparently told Bret the next 6 months would make him or break him. Now, how accurate that is up for debate because WWE was certainly having some problems. But the idea that they were in financial peril or on the, as you would say, Tony, the precipice of bankruptcy probably is a little bit exaggerated. Is it a situation where Vince had buyer's remorse for this deal? I think that's much more plausible and much more likely. And Vince had apparently floated the idea to Bret of restructuring the contract, promising to pay Bret the bigger money later on when he felt WWE would presumably be more financially solvent. Now, I don't know what Bret's response to that was, probably other than fuck off. You agreed to pay me this stuff up front. You guys are going to be just fine. But like you're saying, this big issue about the contract that Bret signed, that Vince offered him, the 20-year deal that Vince had immediate buyer's remorse about, and he couldn't get out from under that. And he was already trying to look at a way, even here, we're how many months? 6 months before Survivor Series. he's already looking at a way out of this thing. He doesn't want to let Bret go yet, but he knows he's got to do something with his contract. So his thought is, let's restructure this. Let's shift the big money from not happening at the beginning of the contract. Let's put it at the end of the contract. And Bret's probably like, you're not fucking me over for 15 years and then pay me the last 5 years. I'm not Bobby Bonilla. We're not going to do this whole situation. It worked out well, great for Bobby. But let me go back to you on this thing. So you'd already mentioned it, Vince trying to get out of this terrible contract and trying to talk to Bret. I mean, he's already opening the dialogue with Bret. Hey, this is an issue. It's causing financial peril for WWE, WWF at the time. Can we work with each other? What can we do with this thing? And if Bret told him to go fly a kite, I wouldn't begrudge him that, because it's like, dude, I need the money now, man. I got a family, I got kids, whatever's going on with my extramarital bullshit. He's still a family man at heart, trying to take care of the family. He's like, what happens to me for the next 10 years, So your thoughts, man.
Oh, it's everything I just said previously, right? Like, we all know what troubles we're having. Why are we going to give him the belt at SummerSlam? It doesn't make any fucking sense. That's why I just don't, something's not right.
No, something's definitely not right. But I mean,
like, if looking at it as a historical perspective and what we're doing, right? Historians of the WWE, some part of this story is not true. Some big part of this story isn't true. What that is, I don't know. So I can't really, but you can't know as much as we know and watch as much as we've watched, to not realize that,
well,
a big part of what's let on to the public is not true somewhere.
To your point, because we have been covering this for so many years, years in the Big Five chronology and that timeline, but on this show itself for a couple of years now, we've always said Vince never put all of his faith in Bret, right? And we've always lamented the fact that if Vince had just trusted Bret, not pivoted to Hogan at WrestleMania 9, not done a few things, not toyed with the idea, well, maybe Lex Luger can carry the company when he clearly couldn't. So he never fully trusts him. But in this moment, like you're saying, why would you flip the belt back to him knowing, hey, I got to get out of this contract and what are we going to do? Unless Vince in his own mind was thinking, this is going to work out eventually. This is a sign of good faith. I'll give Bret the title, and then realize that's not going to work. Mike's got a point here. People talk lots of shit on the Ultimate Warrior, but he knew how to deal with Vince on contracts. They knew how to screw each other over on contracts. Ultimate Warrior would try to hold Vince up, and Vince, like at SummerSlam 91, outsmarted him, said, oh yeah, I'll give you everything you want. And as soon as he walked through the door, you're fired. Get the fuck out. So they had a very interesting relationship, but I get what you're saying. I mean, and this is important as we move forward from this point to Survivor Series 97. Eye everything carefully. Look at everything carefully, because I mean, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. Is this screw job at work? Is there something else going on? Why did Vince make this move? Why did he, not? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. There's arguments that can be made on both sides of the fence. That's for sure. So let's get into this thing. Let's talk about the semifinal match number 1. Let's talk about the tournament. And we go back, and it's Ahmed Johnson versus Triple H with China. This is the first semifinal match. It's, as you would expect, it's a meh sort of match. Ahmed is going to hit Hunter with the spine buster, sets him up for the Pearl River plunge. China, of course, as she's known to do throughout the Attitude Era, pays dividends because she jumps up on the apron. She causes a distraction. Hunter hits a jumping knee into Ahmed's back, driving him face first into the turnbuckles. Hunter then hits the pedigree and advances to the finals. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to say? This is a match. Ahmed was certainly not as healthy as he could have been for this match. He was dealing with his own injuries, but, I mean, this was okay. Were you thrilled by this match, Tony? I can't imagine you were.
I did learn something in rewatching here.
Do tell.
Apparently, China was a licensed boxer. So there you go. Well, I mean, that's what I was told when I watched.
Yeah, and I'm like reading through this, as the 4 guys who were in the semifinals, Ahmed was the only one who was originally planned to be there. So like the other ones, Mankind, Lawler, Triple H, they weren't really planned to be there because of injuries. Like we talked about earlier, Vader was supposed to be there, but he got his face broken. Goldust was supposed to face Savio Vega, but then we had to flip flop that. And yeah, I don't know, man. This King of the Ring tournament is not going to be remembered for being as awesome as people might otherwise want it to be. But
It's
hey, this.
It's remembered for Hunter getting his King of the Ring after being denied it from the Click thing, right? That's what this is remembered for.
Yeah, I'm just reading through Vader's litany of injuries from his match with Shamrock. 13 minutes. Vader's nose was broken in 4 places to go along with a broken septum. God damn. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I mean, you are talking a green Shamrock at this point in time. And like you said earlier, the second Vader stiffed him, the first time Vader stiffed him, Ken Shamrock was like, that's not going to work for me, brother. So, oh man. God, and that's why we had to reinsert Hunter with this threatened lawsuit. And
it's interesting too. The funny thing is like UFC doesn't have the legitimacy back in 1997 that it does today either. So like Vader's probably sitting there going, "Oh yeah, these guys think they're fucking tough. Wait till they get in the ring with me or something. Here's your champion." He probably was stupid enough to think that he could whoop Ken Shamrock's ass and had no idea.
Yeah, and had no idea. And he fucked around and found out. To steal, as the kids say now.
Fuck around, win fucked up prizes.
Yeah, I mean, and you've heard this about Vader in the past. Other people have said, he operated very stiff, and I'm sure for Ken Shamrock, he's like, no, that's not going to work for me.
Someone
and I
told
will
me
beat
this
your
wasn't
ass.
supposed to be like this.
Mike is questioning your veracity here, Tony. Saying, quit listening to Jerry the King. He also said the Godfather had a PhD, China boxer.
No, that was boxer. JR said that. Jerry wasn't on commentary.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go. I mean, if JR said it, it carries a little bit more credibility. So
maybe it might have been Vince, though. Yeah. No, I put it in quotes, Mike. Come on, no, I was,
Godfather had a PhD, a player hater degree. So,
well, yeah. John Cena degree in thugonomics. So
let's talk about the second semifinal. Yeah, the Doctor of Thugonomics, Mankind versus Jerry Lawler. It's interesting how WWE starts to do certain things at this point in time, such as turning Mankind into a babyface. And they do this through a series of interviews that he does with Jim Ross. And, we've gone from the point of thinking Mankind was this mindless barbarian who was, giving the Undertaker all this trouble for years. And Jim Ross does these interviews with Mankind. And in these interviews, we find out his real name's Mick Foley. We find out about the whole Long Island, New York thing, how much he loves the business. And they humanize this character who up until this point was deemed to be very inhuman and invulnerable. And they start showing all these little vignettes and people they're trying to they want to make sure that Mankind is going to get cheered against Jerry Lawler, which it doesn't take much, right? I mean, if you're going up there against Lawler, you get cheered.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Jerry's gonna help that. Jerry's one of the greatest heels of all time. Here's the thing, folks. Despite the relationship that Mick Foley has with WWE today, at this time, and throughout the entire time of Mick Foley's run in WWE, first run, right? Like this run, Vince McMahon loves Mick Foley, the person. Abso-fucking-lutely. Like, completely loves the ideas he brings to him. And like, if you've read Mick Foley's books, which I've read all of them, and I highly suggest if you're a wrestling fan, even if you're not a Mick Foley fan, because it talks a lot about the business, and it's Mick writing it. These two guys, like, Vince knew what he found and 100% listened to Mick.
He did. And I think, the fallout between them right now is purely political. It just has to do with, Mick's not going to agree with anything that's Trump related right now. And that's really and it's sad that we're at that point, that it's a political statement that has really separated these guys. I get it.
That sort of thing. Brought it up too. You brought it up too. Like they had the Hell in a Cell match, which, by the way, what a horrible Hell in a Cell match as far as Hell in a Cell matches go. But they didn't show Mick Foley in the precursor.
You mean Oba and Brock? You're talking Oba and Brock. Okay.
Good match.
I thought it was
didn't need to have the Hell in a Cell, right? At all. Like,
no, but it is a I mean, you could make the argument it's the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. I mean, the first one at Bad Blood is awesome, and I think
Taker,
the end
Taker
end
Foley.
of an era, is right. Those three are the ones that I look at and say greatest of all time. But I mean, yeah, how do you do a list of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time and not have Undertaker and Mankind on there? Because that's just haterade. That is strictly haterade. There it is. And you lose credibility when you do that, and that's a big problem at WWE. And it distresses me to see Hunter go down the same path that Vince went down. But of
Well,
course, he learned from the master. And
at the
what are they
same
going to
time,
do?
he answers. He doesn't have full control Vince had, by the way, either. And I think Foley also said that they don't have his permission to use his likeness anymore, considering the circumstances. So maybe they just said, okay, well, then, we'll just do what's easiest.
That's true. Mike is saying this is 4 months from Mr. Sacco. I don't think
Oh,
Mr. Sacco comes in 97. I think it's in 98. I
but
think.
no, yeah,
Does he come in?
no,
I don't.
no, I don't think you get Mr. Sacco till after WrestleMania 14 for sure.
Yeah, it's somewhere in 98, I think, where we get Mr. Sacco. But let's talk about this match.
You continue. All effort.
Thank you, Tony. I
I'm going to
appreciate
ask
when
Grok.
somebody effort. Yeah, ask Grok. See
Mr.
what Grok says.
Sacco's debut was when?
So anyway, well, like I was saying, they're doing everything they can to switch Mick Foley to turn him into a babyface as, and they kind of, I mean, these interviews turn into like work shoots to a certain extent. But the match itself, Mankind versus Jerry Lawler, they wanted Mankind to get cheered. It worked. His face turns in full swing. And I mean, I'll say this for Jerry Lawler. This is actually one of his better performances in WWE because he hits Mankind with a pile driver on the ring floor and another in the ring, but he can only get a 2 count out of this whole thing. When he goes for the pile driver a third time, Mankind tries to backdrop Jerry Lawler. Lawler tries to turn this into a sunset flip, but Mankind shifts his weight, blocks the move, and applies the mandible claw. Lawler passes out, and Mankind advances to the final. So Lawler doesn't actually tap out to this move. He just passes out from the pain of the mandible claw, and we are off to a finals of Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Mankind for the King of the Ring in 1997. This was a much better match. I mean, like I said, Lawler only has a handful of really good matches in WWE. This is one of them. I mean, he gets some moves in. It's not all the same old bullshit. It's not like, handing Jake the Snake Roberts some bottles of Mad Dog 2020, saying, here you go, here's for your alcoholism. I mean, this is a straight up match against a much better opponent. They wanted Mankind to get cheered. It worked. He was getting cheered. One of Jerry's better performances, but Mankind gets the win.
October 98, Sacco.
October 98, Sacco makes his debut. Okay. So Mike's about a year early is in his assessment.
16 months. Why wouldn't Jerry Lawler and Mick Foley have a good match? There's no reason for them ever to not have a good match. They're both way too smart, right? Like, hey, if like I don't obviously Foley has no problem, and if I don't think Lawler has a problem either. So Lawler is trying to maintain being a wrestler for Vince. So why wouldn't he go out there and do the best he could with Foley? So this is a match that would have been great, like in the Southern NWA territories with Cactus Jack and Jerry Lawler, right? With like Cactus Jack, the unlikely face against Jerry. Jerry the King told Grok that. Okay, well, he's a king. He's not the king of kings.
Oh, he's not. That's coming up later on. But not like to your point, WWE typically really watered down Jerry the King Lawler as a wrestler. They never really gave him the rub that he should have got because he was one of the best to do it in his territory in Memphis, Smoky Mountain. When they actually let him wrestle, he was awesome. But he became a caricature of himself in WWE at this time. And so this is one of the few times where they let him go a little bit. And he, like you said, Tony, he delivers a hell of a match, and I was impressed with it. It, legitimized Mankind. He got Mankind further cemented as a babyface. And it was a good match. So from there, We get the whole thing. We talked about this earlier. At this point, we get Stone Cold beating the hell out of Brian Pillman in the men's room, and he basically gives him a swirly. He gets a swirly out of this whole thing, Tony. But we got the toilet cam going, and we get to see all of that in its wet and wild glory, I guess, is a lack of a better term.
Austin 316 says, "I just swirled your face."
That's right. Austin 316 says, "I just swirled your ass." We already have kind of touched base as to what we were supposed to get and what we ended up getting instead. And it's all right. I mean, Austin is still, it's not full on era of Austin, but I mean, Austin's momentum is steadily building here. The crowd ate this shit up, and they're fully in Stone Cold's camp at this point in time, but he still hasn't reached the apex of his popularity. That's still coming. Vince, of course, at this point is exaggerating the crowd capacity, saying we got a capacity crowd, but like you said, Tony, 9,312 in a 16,000 seat arena. Not so good.
Well, the old NWO is doing pretty good, so that's not good news for Vince.
So before we move on to the next match, we mentioned earlier about ECW and the connection that ECW and ECW had this time. So we're in early 1997. So WWE and ECW, they've got this kind of relationship going on. We get some interesting moments. Like early in 97, you got Paul Heyman and Rob Van Dam are showing up on Raw. You've got guys popping up at ECW events. Lawler had been very vocal in his anti-ECW rants on the WWF television at the time for 4 months. And this would just keep going on. So this is something I did not realize. ECW held their WrestlePalooza event. WrestlePalooza, where have we heard that before? So ECW did it first. Yes, that's right. It was the first ESPN. So ECW did it first. WrestlePalooza was theirs. They had it at the Philadelphia ECW Arena.
And knowing is half the battle.
Thank you. It was very apropos. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate the sound bites.
I apologize.
Very apropos. I like the interruption. That was very well timed, sir. Excellently done. Always. But as I was saying, the night before King of the Ring in Philadelphia at the ECW Arena, Tommy Dreamer finally beats Raven. Remember, Tommy Dreamer could never beat Raven. Could never beat him. He finally beats him. And seconds after the victory, Dreamer gets basically jumped by this pro WWE contingent, including Rob Van Dam is suddenly there, Sabu, and a debuting Lawler. So, I mean, these are guys who are ECW regulars who decide to align themselves with WWE. Van Dam, Sabu, Lawler, they beat the shit out of Tommy Dreamer. And it creates, obviously, in this whole situation, in that ECW arena, you are this close to a riot breaking loose at that place because the fans were having none of this shit. And I think Rob Van Dam commented and realized, boy, the heat in that moment, in that arena was very incredible. I mean, and it was just off the charts. Lawler got out of the building as soon as this angle was over, drives 277 miles to Providence so he can put Mankind over. So say what you want about Jerry the King Lawler. That's a man there for you, man. To do that, to put ECW on the map, to create one of the early iconic moments in that arena with Van Dam and Sabu jumping ship and Lawler jumping in there, beating the shit out of Tommy Dreamer minutes after he finally gets rid of Raven, finally vanquishes Raven. And then, I mean, you're talking like Mid-South heat, right? When the Freebirds pulled that shit on Junkyard Dog. I mean, true, real, like, okay, this is a dangerous situation. Or like when Slaughter was doing all that shit in 90 and 91 with the Iraqi war, you're talking levels of heat in that moment in this whole situation. And then Lawler gets out, drives almost 300 miles to Providence to put over Mankind. Say what you want about Jerry Lawler. That's a man right there.
Lawler's one of the greatest, Hall of Famer in any aspect that applies, without a doubt. It brings me to a bigger wrestling philosophical question.
Okay, I'm here.
ECW was truly the last territory as far as like being a major territory and not just like some fledgling thing, because everything bigger was something national but they were still, until their death, were more of a territory than anything else, if you think about it.
Well, I'll say this. ECW was putting on their own pay-per-views. And other than the big two, they're the only ones doing it at this point in time. AWA's gone by now. And you're looking at WWE's
lasting in that version. They're like the only true, because of the way it was. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's very.
No, I think when you think of territories and you think of the regionality of the territories as they existed, right? They were very regionalized and that sort of thing. And ECW was, of course, centrally located, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. The ECW arena was Philadelphia. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It was like, in the traditional sense of the word, a territory.
Like the
And
last
I do think
surviving territory, like the Blockbuster in Oregon.
Right. And I can get behind that. And especially adding on that they were one of the few that were doing their own pay-per-views at this point in time really kind of lends into your argument some right there. And, you know, the fact that they were so independent, because WWE and WCW are both angling to work with them. They, you know, Heyman eventually decides, I'm going with WWE, which is something that flies under the radar because we're in the midst of 83 weeks at this point, right? So WCW is taking it to WWE, but Heyman said, I'm going with Vince and not Ted or Eric.
Well, Ted's not giving him money either.
That's true.
He's giving him opportunities. Vince is giving him money.
That makes a big difference. So, but I like your point there. I think, was ECW the last true territory? Yeah, I mean, when you look at the trajectory of things of where they're going to go, that's
like, even in the aspect of what you're talking about and nationally being, you know, the third company, there's still a feeder, whether you realized it or not at the time. So they're actually a territory feeding into a bigger territory, right? Like, if you want to, you know what I mean? The last feeder too, as well. So on multiple levels.
They were kind of NXT before it was NXT a little bit, but you know, I mean, they're not FCW. They're bigger than that.
Well,
but
yeah, but then they, you know, that kind of dissolved, and you know, years later.
Yeah, no,
OVW.
That's an interesting point.
OVW first, right?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, man, and it's a point well taken. I like that. Let's get back to the card here. We got Crush with the Nation of Domination, Sans, Savio Vega and Faarooq versus Goldust with Marlena. Yeah, so it's Crush who's got the Nation of Domination, but there's no Savio, there's no Faarooq. He's taking on Goldust with Marlena in this match. At this point in WWE, it is clear that JR is giving a lot of backstory at this point in time, and he's starting to expand his repertoire. And this is a point in WWE's history where JR is more of a storyteller, and they're not shying away from the past. Like, he's calling Mankind Mick Foley in that moment, and then he's also at this point in time notes how Goldust is actually Dustin Runnels. So it's interesting because you start to see this transition that Vince is going to do where they're bringing in their real world names, you know, talking about Mick Foley, talking about Dustin Runnels, which is kind of unique because it's like, well, we know that he's Dusty's son, huh?
Is it?
It's just
Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. He's just, if I can't beat him, join him, right? Like, just creating a better mousetrap.
Trying to create a better mousetrap. At least we've got rid of fake Diesel and fake Razor at this point in time.
Good grief.
Crush, I know Crush is one of your favorites, Tony, and I know that at this point in time. I'm well aware that Crush is one of your favorites.
You should be happy I'm still here.
It's not a David Sammartino moment for you yet. But anyway, Crush dominates most of the match. Yeah. After Goldust slaps the shit out of D'Lo Brown for getting too close to Marlena, he then is going to counter a Crush military press attempt into a DDT, and he gets the win. I mean, you know, it's a Crush match, so you can only go so far in that sort of situation. Goldust is eons beyond Crush as far as ring talent. There's not a whole lot you can say about this, and I'm sure you don't want to say a whole lot about it, Tony.
Well, he looks like an idiot too. Like, he's dressed like a moron. He's not in shape. I mean, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't think we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. Goldust, got kind of hosed out of being a part of the King of the Ring tournament, but he does get the win here, and whatever. I mean, it is a very whatever sort of match.
Yeah, the Goldust as a character and as a run, like there's multiple ones, right? The one we're about to end, and then the one later on with Booker T and everything. It's just another guy that, used the right way with the proper foresight could have been a lot bigger. Like, could you imagine a Goldust heel title run against, I don't know, pick your face at the time? Could you imagine Goldust and Hulk Hogan? That'd be insane.
That would have been fun.
I mean, really,
Gold,
like Hogan would have been freaked out about everything at the time.
yeah, we're not far from the artist formerly known as Goldust either. So we're getting to that point.
Yeah, but then you think about like right now too. I mean, Goldust Foley, Goldust Taker. I mean, I know they kind of did some of that stuff, but at the same time, him and Bret Hart could have done some shit too. Shawn Michaels.
Mike is asking you to clarify. Crusher Goldust was dressed like an idiot, out of shape. I already know the answer to this, but go ahead and let Mike know who you're talking about, Tony.
It crushes the absolute worst, Mike. Just so you know.
Yeah, Mike Crush is not. I mean, he's below Gunther on Tony's list of. I mean, I don't know if he's Giant Gonzalez level for you, but he's probably pretty close.
Yeah, below Giant Gonzalez.
Wow, that's bad. God damn, we just buried Crush bad there. But anyway,
I crushed.
next match. Huh?
I
You
crushed.
crushed him. You
Yeah.
crushed him. That's right.
See what it.
British Bulldog, who's the European champion at this time. Owen Hart's the Intercontinental champion at this time.
Oh boy.
They team up with, we talked about the Anvil earlier. So the Anvil's on this team. So you got basically the Hart Foundation versus the Legion of Doom and Psycho Sid. This is Sid's last WWE pay-per-view, by the way, guys. This is the last time we'll see Sid on a WWE pay-per-view. Maybe the Gimmick Battle Royal somewhere. I don't remember. But, Sid, of course, is one of these guys who he would show up for a while and then he would disappear, show up somewhere else for a while, disappear, come back, disappear.
He had softball to play. He was a softball.
That's right. He was. He had a lot of softball to play.
It's legit, actually.
That is legit. It may be Sid's last WWE pay-per-view, but Legion of Doom and Sid get pretty huge ovations. They get massive pops when they come out for this match. The match itself is decent. Legion of Doom looks less than spectacular in this match, was my opinion, Tony. And it pains me to say that because I tend to agree with the post that Bubba Ray made earlier that we talked about in the chat, that Legion of Doom is the best tag team of all time. I tend to agree with that, but not here. Not in this match. They were less than blowing my skirt up. Hart Foundation looks really good, though, in this match. Despite Sid and Hawk no-selling just about anything that could be done in this match, Sid is going to hit Bulldog with a fairly crappy-looking choke slam. He sets the Bulldog up for a power bomb, but Owen is going to come flying off of the top rope to execute a sunset flip on Sid. The move is botched a little bit. Sid gets pinned anyway. So Owen Hart pins Psycho Sid with a flying sunset flip, and the Hart Foundation gets the win. Like I said, it's a decent enough match. I love I wish that Legion of Doom and Sid would have performed as well as the ovations that they got. Some of the no-selling got a little bit old, especially when you're in the ring with talent like Davey Boy, like Owen, like the Anvil, guys who can go. I don't have complaints about their performance. They showed up. These other dudes kind of looked like they were mailing it in, and maybe that's because Sid's on his way out. He's just like, fuck it. But what'd you think of this one, Tony?
Completely agree with the Sid thing. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody bring up this aspect or a perspective on Legion of Doom. They're an outsiders tag team. They're somebody else's tag team that came in. So Vince was never going to really put them over. Like a lot of people that we talked about that are outsiders that come into WWE. Some come in, get pushed big time. Some come in, earn them stripes and get what they wanted. Some come in and they came in specifically for Vince to show you that they weren't as good as you thought they were. And I think that's what Vince did with the Legion of Doom throughout their time in the WWE. Vince specifically brought them in to show them and his audience that they're not as good as you think they are. I truly believe that. Like
It's tough because he does put he
the
puts a
Road
belt
Warrior
on him.
pop. The Road Warrior pop is not a WWE thing, and he wants to prove that, well, because it doesn't translate to WWE, we're better, right? Like,
Yeah,
have you ever
I
thought
see
about
your
that?
I have thought about that, and I see what you're saying. But Vince he puts the belt on him at WrestleMania 7 briefly. He does pivot back to them later on and put the belt back on them. But it's interesting when he does that, it's so that he can showcase Sonny as their manager. And they're kind of a convenient centerpiece for that. So maybe, yeah, I mean, certainly the fact is they were not a homegrown WWF product. They came from the AWA, they came from the NWA. I do agree with you, the fact that Vince saying, look at what I've got. And he's showing them out there. Saying, look at these guys. I can show them off. They can do all this stuff. So I agree with you on that point. Did he warm to them later on in the years? I would say so. Yeah, he probably did. But Hawk's Demons are going to kind of really derail that. And
They pay no dividends later on.
right. I mean, there's a lot of things that he wanted to do, but Hawk has his own issues. That's going to rear its ugly head. I do believe, it was putting Sunny with them for that period of time that she's there, because as red hot in multiple ways as Sunny was at this point in time and afterwards, putting them with the guys who are going to get one of the biggest pops of anybody who's going to come out makes a lot of sense. But I get what you're saying. It's a tough one. Certainly, I don't think Vince looked at the Road Warriors the same way that he probably looked at Demolition. Even though when he got the Road Warriors in there, he buried Demolition, which I think Vince would probably say that was probably a mistake to do that. But I get why he did all that stuff. But in this match, yeah, it's just like the LOD and Psycho Sid they kind of just mailed this one in, and the other guys weren't. It's clear that Davey Boy and Owen and the Anvil, they were all working. And I'm glad that the right team won in this situation. I mean, Owen pinning Sid with a flying sunset flip. Okay. I don't have a real problem with that. It's a decent match, but it's not anything great. That's for sure. But what do you say we get to a match that's actually really good, though? You want to do that? Let's talk about the finals of the King of the Ring. We got Mankind taking on Hunter Hearst Helmsley with China. And this is the beginning, Tony, of one of the all-time best rivalries in WWE, isn't it? I mean, we talked multiple times about guys. Thank you. Guys in the right places, wrong gimmicks. We're not quite there with Hunter yet, but we're very close. And you see the chemistry that these two guys have in all of its glory in this match. It's a good match. I'll say this. The first half of it was a little bit slow for my liking. It was a little bit plodding for the first half of it, but then in the second half, things really pick up. And this includes Hunter hitting Mankind with a pedigree on the announce table. But the thing about this match is it's not the two guys who are in the match who are probably the MVP. It's the girl on the outside who may or may not be a boxer, but China's the MVP of this match. She saves Hunter from the mandible claw, interfering after a double underhook DDT. She smashes the scepter over Mankind's back. Mick is going to survive all of this shit for a while anyway, but another pedigree is going to put him away. And a year after he was supposed to win and got bypassed for the curtain call, Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, whatever you want to call it, is finally the King of the Ring. Like I said, first half of this match, a little bit slow. Second half really picks up and you get to see what these two guys can do. But it's China who steals the show in this match, single-handedly saving Hunter from multiple places where he should have been beat down and out, smashing the scepter into his back. Macho King Randy Savage would have been very proud of that moment. And Hunter Hearst Helmsley, pedigrees Mick Foley, Mankind, whatever you want to call him. He is the 1997 King of the Ring. And there you go, man. What do you think of this one, Tony?
Yeah, what is it? Royal Rumble 91 flashbacks when Warrior loses to Sergeant Slaughter
with a scepter to the head that actually knocked him out.
Yeah, China's so good. Like this
Mike's
is
close.
Go
Mike's
ahead.
close here. He's saying China's the 8th wonder world, 9th wonder, Mike. Andre's the 8th.
Yeah.
China's the 9th.
It's interesting because we're man, I lost my train of thought there.
You're thinking about China.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in China.
I'd rather not. No, I can't remember where we were going, but thanks for the drop in, Mike. Go ahead, Dave, wherever you were going there. I can't remember.
No, I was just, I mean,
interrupted.
no, we were talking a little bit about China was the MVP of this match. She made this match. She turned it around for Hunter. She saved his ass in several places. She enabled Hunter Hearst Helmsley to win this thing. You know, Hunter becomes the king, but out of all the winners of the King of the Ring tournament, I mean, you know, I mean, winning the tournament, the crown is, you know, it's finally, you know, winning the tournament in this one. I mean, I don't know. The King of the Ring wasn't quite transferring as much as it had in the past. And you'll see like when we get to the next year where Shamrock becomes the King of the Ring. And what I think, and I'll tell you right now, the Shamrock Rock final the next year might possibly be the best King of the Ring final of all time. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. It's an awesome match. But, you know, you got any thoughts about Hunter finally breaking through and getting this? I mean, it's a year later.
I did, but I don't anymore. Apparently, I can't remember them. So, yeah, I guess we'll just.
Now, that is the Miller Lite talking, folks.
We'll just concede to the chat, apparently.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't really, I don't think it really translates into much for Hunter, does it? I mean, as we go along the rest of 97, there's really not where you've got the King of the Ring catapulting somebody into anything greater. It's just, it's kind of decorative at this point, right? He's not the best in the broadcast business for nothing, guys. So so Bret Hart is back and healthy, sort of, not exactly, but this is going to start the whole thing in the Canadian Stampede, and it's also going to start the road to Tunney's favorite title change of all time, as you probably guessed from listening to this episode. So Bret comes out, and he challenges any 5 wrestlers to come and take on him, Owen, Anvil, Bulldog, and Pillman at Canadian Stampede. And so this is the genesis for the Canadian Stampede match, Tunney, is Bret basically coming down, and it's a 5-person open challenge, which you don't normally see those, but that's what we get here is Bret's like, I'll take on, you meet us in Canada, any 5 of you sons of bitches, and we'll beat your ass. So it's kind of a cool moment. It's going to turn into one hell of a match, but what any thoughts on Bret coming out, kind of laying down the gauntlet like this and saying, bring it?
I mean, you know, he's been missing here, and he clearly could have gone if he wanted to. So obviously Vince wanted to get him involved and moving forward. But what we do moving forward is just kind of ridiculous. So
not this match. Canadian Stampede is not ridiculous, but
at the same time,
we're going to talk about that next time. You know that, but no, I get where you're going with that. But let's talk Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels though, because this is, in my opinion, it's an excellent match. And it really shows what WrestleMania 14 could have been had Shawn not been hurt. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. Stone Cold is far from healthy at this point in time. He had actually been examined, you know, and you know, we're still a few months away from Stone Cold getting dropped on his head by Owen Hart and suffering a real broken neck. But before this match with Shawn happens, Stone Cold is going and getting looked at by doctors. And a doctor's looking at x-rays of his neck and saying, bro, your vertebrae is deteriorating really fast. You probably should think about retiring. And I think Vince implored Stone Cold, hey, get a second opinion. Stone Cold gets a second opinion. The guy looks at the x-rays and says, no, you're okay. You can go. You know, you're still good to go for now. And boy, thank God that happened. Because, I mean, the risk of Stone Cold retiring was actually there before this match with Shawn. I mean, they're mulling it over. They're looking at x-rays. They're gauging how injured really is Stone Cold Steve Austin this time. Gets a couple of opinions, is able to keep going. And, of course, that's going to lead to one of the all-time greatest runs in the history of professional wrestling. But, man, talk about how things might have been different. If he doesn't get that second opinion, Tunney, and he steps away, I'm not sure we're doing this podcast right now. Are you?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We ask that question a lot. Who knows?
So it's another one of those what ifs, right?
What if it was a different time too? Like, what if it was in the time in between then and now when it was better off to just stop and you took that advice? Or what if it was closer to now where technology had advanced so far that people like Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Paige could come back?
Right. I mean, and modern medicine has progressed significantly since 1997. So, you know, at that point in time, sure, I get it. This is doctors saying, hey, look, Steve, this could be a more dire problem. This is what we think. And Austin was smart enough to get a second opinion. And thank God that he did, because it leads to where we are. But on the other side of the coin, when you watch this match back and you kind of look at how Stone Cold and Shawn operated in the ring together, and you think, man, what would WrestleMania 14 have been like with Tyson there and all that atmosphere had Shawn not been hurt? And when you watch that match, well, we're going to get to WrestleMania 14 not too far down the line. Every time I watch that match back, Tony, I can see Shawn hurting more and more. Every time I watch that match, like, it's evident, okay, he's not working. He's really in pain in this match. And it really does impact that match. And I would say I juxtapose that against this match here because, man, you can see in this match, as it's going on, Stone Cold Steve Austin's popularity is just continuing to surge and getting more and more. And it's just this cascade, this cacophony of popularity starting to, there's a big word for the day. How many syllables was that? That was a big one. So, but anyway, his popularity surging. 4 syllables? Okay. I got it. Okay. It's like Young Frankenstein. 3 syllables. Give him the set a dirty word. He said a dirty word, Tony. He said a dirty word. So anyway, Shawn is really over in this match too. I mean, Shawn is as popular as anybody, and Austin is still getting the majority of the cheers in this thing, but it's a really good back and forth match between the reigning tag team champions. That's certainly rare when you get two tag team champions facing off against each other. But a ref bump is going to be key, as Tim White gets knocked out right before Austin hits Shawn with the stunner. So Austin's frustrated and he's going to take it out on Tim White. Shawn is then going to hit sweet chin music. A second referee comes down to check on Tim White instead of making the count in the ring. So a frustrated Shawn is then going to super kick the second referee. Tim White revives enough to make the count, but Austin is going to kick out of this thing. Earl Hebner comes down. He's seen enough of all of this bullshit, disqualifies both dudes. There's still a lot of tension between both of these guys as they walk to the back. So nothing really gets resolved in this whole thing, but it's such a fun match, right up to the point where the ref bumps get involved. You got Austin hitting Shawn with the stunner. Shawn basically, hits Austin with the super kick, sweet chin music. Then he sees a referee comes down and he thinks, what's your name? Stan. And he kicks him. He says, see, I just kicked Stan, who's the other referee. And, off we go to this whole thing. Earl Hebner finally comes down and says, all right, enough of this bullshit. You guys are both out of here disqualified. But dude, up until then, I thought this was a hell of a match. I was having a lot of fun watching this. You really say, man, I wonder what would have, and I mean, and it does, and it hurts because then you look at what they did in this match and you're thinking WrestleMania 14 would have been the perfect way to finish this off. But Shawn's basically 50% of himself by this point in time. But what do you think of this match? And am I on the right track that, boy, this could have been a real preview of what we would have got in 9 months had Shawn not gotten hurt?
It goes back to the pieces are there. We just haven't put the puzzle together yet, right? Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel what's coming. It's a lot of Austin, propelling the persona, and at the same time Shawn's so good that it just exponentially magnifies it, right? So yeah, it's a shame. It's like two ships that passed in the night twice, like lightning struck twice, but that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, had Vince known what was going to happen to Shawn, he probably lets us go to a real finish. If he says this is the only time we can really do this with both guys relatively healthy, despite what's going on with Austin and his neck, he's still in better shape than Shawn's going to be in 98 during this match. And maybe Austin, or maybe Vince says, yeah, go to a finish on this thing. But I get why they did what they did at this point in time. But again, it's a match that you almost feel a little bit blessed to have gotten to see it, because it shouldn't have gone down that way, because we were supposed to get Shawn and Bret. It doesn't happen. And we end up with this match instead, which I'm not going to complain, because we got to see kind of, okay, this is what these guys can do when they're healthy, and Mike's asking, yeah, Tim White was involved. Tim White traveled with Andre a lot, didn't he? I mean, because Tim White talks about Andre's drinking escapades and all that sort of stuff. And Tim was very close to Andre the Giant, if I remember correctly.
Tim was Andre's, I don't know of a better word, but other than handler, chaperone, or whatever, for the large
Best
majority
friend.
at the end of his WWE days. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely, Tim White was a big part of Andre is a big part of Tim. Like when Tim talks about after Andre died, I mean, you could see how emotional he was and how much that Andre really meant to him. So, but yeah, Tim's stories about just how much Andre could drink. Legendary stuff there. But let's talk main event, Tony. Let's get into it.
You keep going. I'm going to try and catch Andre.
Wait. Well, you got to bring out like a full like thing of boxed wine.
Maybe just
you got any?
Maybe I'll catch Wade Boggs first.
Can't you? Do you have any boxed wine there, Tony? I think that's kind of what Andre
I'm
was.
A classy son of a bitch. I have no boxed wine, you motherfucker.
All right. Main event of King of the Ring 1997. It is Faarooq with the Nation of Domination versus The Undertaker with Paul Bearer for the WWF Championship. Faarooq had a chance. Now, Faarooq, when he was known as Ron Simmons, as we all know, was the first black world heavyweight champion in any promotion in pro wrestling history when he beat Vader over in WCW. Well, in this match, Tony, he's got a chance to become the first black world champion in WWF history. So we've got a chance to make history again here. Paul Bearer is, like we mentioned earlier, he's back with Undertaker, but only because he is holding a big, and I'm air quoting, secret over Undertaker's head. The match itself, though, it's not a particularly good match, and it's pretty damn boring, to be honest with you. Faarooq is in control of this match, and due to repeated interference from members of the Nation at ringside, and that's what basically gives Faarooq the advantage. But when Crush and Savio Vega start arguing at ringside, Faarooq gets distracted. He gets planted with a tombstone. Undertaker retains the championship, and that's basically the match itself. Now, the good stuff happens post-match, though. So post-match, it gets interesting because Paul Bearer or
Crush.
Oh yeah, we got more Crush. I know you're thrilled about more Crush. You can never have too much Crush.
Thank the Lord above.
So Paul Bearer orders Undertaker to deliver 3 choke slams to Faarooq. And it's clear that Undertaker does not want to do this. But whatever Paul is holding over his head convinces him otherwise. So as Undertaker is abusing the shit out of Faarooq, Ahmed Johnson, despite all of his issues, of which there are many with Faarooq, he comes to the ring to try to talk some sense into Undertaker. Undertaker takes a swing at Ahmed Johnson. Johnson ducks and lays out Undertaker with a Pearl River plunge. After Undertaker does his sit-up recovery move, he stalks Paul Bearer to the back to end the show. So it gets kind of interesting at the end there with, the whole Undertaker reluctantly being Paul Bearer's weapon of destruction, and Ahmed Johnson, of all people, kind of coming down and getting involved to make it think we're going to get an Ahmed Johnson Undertaker program. It never really comes to pass. I don't know, man. This match, maybe does this match and kind of how lackluster it was, did this have anything to do with Vince thinking I got to get the belt back on Bret? I don't know, but what'd you think of the end of King of the Ring 97?
Missed opportunity.
Okay, elaborate, please.
You're at where you're at, right? NWO's taken off, right?
Kicking your ass. You can say it.
Why not have Ron Simmons win the title?
Well, I mean, there, of course, is the reasoning that WWE didn't want to put the belt on a black man at this point in time. I don't know how you avoid making that correlation. I think that that's out there. That's the ugly sort of aspect of things. But
Do you see what I'm saying, though? You know what I
oh,
mean?
yeah, I know what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. I mean, do something shocking, shake things up a little bit, but instead they're going to do, like you said, which is pivoting to one of the more controversial and questionable title changes of all time coming up in a couple of months. Go ahead, man.
You think that they were like, well, we'd almost be copying WCW because they did it, because he was he was recognized, like, even at this point, he's still recognized as the first, like, kind of like, maybe not wholly by WWE because they might not, recognize that, but he's the most major black world champion of all time at this point still.
Right. Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that they were calling him Faarooq and not Ron Simmons? I mean,
I don't know that
seems
mattered. That's
dumb,
kind
but
of a Vince kind of name thing, trying to kind of probably capitalize on what he thought was cool from the Black Panthers in the 70s, right? Like, that's clearly the vibe he was going for. So I don't know. I mean, we talked about our top 5 title changes the other week on DWI, and Ron Simmons beating Vader on Saturday Night's Main Event was on my top 5. So I just kind of rewatched this and was like, man, what if he would have won here? You know. Now the nation is not exactly what the nation is about to become, but it's there.
Mike is in complete agreement with you on the WCW point. I mean, I see certain things going on in this match, and it's not just the whole Ron Simmons thing. I think one of the things that, of course, is going on is it's got to be Kane, and they're building to that, this big secret that Paul has, and trying to show how conflicted Undertaker is, so that when Paul eventually reveals what's going on with Kane, it's a bigger deal than it is. And when Kane eventually shows up, it's, I mean, and it really, you really start to just develop a lot more dislike for Paul Bearer at this point in time, because you're like, oh man, he's got something over the Undertaker. What could it possibly be? You know, but like you're saying, the nation is at the point where we're trying, we're going to get Rocky Maivia is not on this card at all, but he's about to go and join the nation and become the guy in the nation, and Faarooq not so much. And clearly the nation, their involvement in this match is what leads to Faarooq getting beaten. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think, like you're saying, like were they concerned about just copying BCW, like, hey, let's make it exactly like you're saying. The first black champion in WWF will be the first black champion in WCW. We'll put it on the exact same guy. And they may have said, we don't want to copy that. We want to do something different. But yeah, I mean, if they put the belt on Faarooq here, boy, that certainly sends seismic waves through everything. But they just weren't ready for that yet, for whatever reason. I mean, whether it was just the whole thing, well, Vince didn't want to put over a black guy, maybe. I don't want to go down that path, but I don't think you can avoid it. But I don't know. I mean, you just figure, boy, these guys are two guys who should have had a better match than this, and this one was just kind of lackluster and just boring. I mean, am I wrong about that? I was kind of bored with this.
No, it's weird because it's boring and yet overproduced at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a
Like,
good.
you usually
Yeah.
don't put those two things together. Like, if it's overproduced, you're like, man, it just, all this shit was happening way too much, right? But no, like, or like it was too meticulous. But no, this was none of those things. It was just bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is rare when you can overproduce a boring match. You've done fucked up. So, and I love that perspective, Tony, because I think you're right. They overproduced a boring match, and you might as well just pack it in and go home at that point. But you know what? We're going to pack it in and go home ourselves on this one. But of course, before we do, we got to talk scores. And I know we got to give our rating on this thing. I'll go first, Tony. I'm actually going to downgrade this a little bit from what I originally had it, because I'm looking at my original score and I'm like, nah, that's too high. I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. And I'll say the beginning of the Triple H versus Mankind rivalry was awesome. And that's by far, I won't say it's the best match on the card, but it's a really good one. Bret Hart throwing down the gauntlet was awesome. Austin and Shawn I think that's the best match on the card, even with the fuck finish. Hunter getting his crown a year later was cool, but the main event was lackluster as shit. Some of the King of the Ring semifinal matches were, Mankind and Lawler was good, but Hunter and Ahmed wasn't so good. It's pretty average, I would say. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10 because there are some cool moments, and it is, we are in the middle of the Attitude Era forming around this, but we still got a ways to go, kids. And that's why I'm downgrading this a little bit to a 6.5 out of 10. How did Cage match? How did I match up with Cage match on this?
Cage match 5.25.
Ooh, I'm too high, but I'll stay at a 6.5.
Yeah, I thought the 6-man was really good. Obviously, Hunter and Mankind was really good, and then obviously, HBK and Austin. I would kind of be right hovering around Cage match, like 5.5 probably here. It's too bad. Like this could have been 7.5 even if Faarooq and Taker had a good match. They should have just left everything out of it, teased all this stuff, like sidestepped it, made it something like kind of never really happened in the ring. If you put the belt on Faarooq here, man, do you get some attention? By the way,
and the other thing we forgot is Goldust and Crush. That's why it's down in the low 5s for you.
No, what do you expect when you put?
What are you going to expect out of that?
Your expectations will always be crushed, Dave.
Yes, he crushes it's soul crushing, Tunny, soul crushing. But yeah, so King of the Ring, 1997 in the book. I promise you guys, next year's King of the Ring, 1998, is infinitely better. And that's an understatement. My God, next year's King of the Ring 98 is certainly something to behold, and we will be talking about that pretty soon. On the next installment of the Big Five Project, as we've mentioned several times, we are taking our first side quest, and we're going above the border. The first time ever, it is not an official Big Five event, but it is a historically significant and awesome enough card that we feel we have to cover it, and that is In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede, which I'll just tell you guys at home right now, probably the best card that I watched in 1997 is Canadian Stampede. And we'll get to cover that the next time. The main event is amazing. And just that atmosphere north of the border, that is going to be coming up on when we come back for the Big Five Project next time around. I urge you guys, if you've got Netflix, go watch In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede, because it is a tremendous event. I can't wait to talk to you guys about that. And then from there, we will get to the greatest title change in WWE history. Number 1 on Tunny's list, Bret Hart and The Undertaker at SummerSlam 97. Just a difficult night for a lot of people out there at SummerSlam 97. But before we cut out of here on the Big Five Project, Tunny, let people know where they can check you out and all the cool stuff going on over at thechairshot.com and DWI and all that fun stuff.
You could check me out watching the Milwaukee Brewers become the first Major League Baseball team to win 80 games this season. Follow me at PC Tunny, and then, I do stuff with Dave.
Yeah, Tunny does. We hang out. We do Bandwagon Nerds. We do Unidentified History. We just got done, as we talked about at the beginning, doing Game Gone Wrong, finishing up our House of the Dragon. Go back and listen to us. The Night of the 7-9 Kingdoms coming up. It's not 6-7, kids. It's 7-9. So, yeah. As far as me, look, if you want to check out what's going on with the show, the best thing to do is to go right here to Attitude of Aggression. That's where all the podcast episodes, all the wrestling podcasts, all the UFO stuff you want. Our friend Whistling Mike just sat in with me as co-host a few days ago to go through the 5th UFO file drop and all the craziness in ufology. We are going to have Mike coming on very soon to tell his very strange and interesting and wild and enlightening story about his own experience, not just with the phenomenon, but with the phenomenon that is the intelligence communities of the United States government. You guys will not want to miss that one if you've not heard Mike tell his story before. It's an interesting one, to be sure. And we'll be doing that very soon. Also, on the YouTube channel, please go and check out the Attitude of Aggression's YouTube channel. If you go there, subscribe, hit the like button. comment, turn on notifications. That's right. Nice thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. We greatly appreciate the support there. But that is going to do it for this edition of the Attitude of Aggression Wrestling Podcast, this installment of the Big Five Project. As we said, next time out, our first official side quest, because we couldn't do Bash of the Beach 96 because everything vanished. It's just gone, but problems. But we did talk about it. But this will be the first time we actually do a non-Big Five event as part of the Big Five Project because it's important enough and because we want to. Like Greg and Patrick record grown-ass men when they feel like it. We're covering Canadian Stampede because we feel like it. Yeah, those guys, they're jobbers anyway. I mean, that's just amateurs. Tunney, my friend, thank you so much for being a part, as always, of the Big Five Project with me. Any last thoughts before we come out? I mean, this is just one of our favorite things to do because we continue to become WWE historians every time we do this, and we learn new stuff all the time. You got any final thoughts before we close out today?
No, it is really cool to just cover all this and go back and look at it. And yeah, we're in it now. We're where I wanted to be, brother. I'm really happy. It's all happening now. So just remember that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all happening.
Yeah. Most of the events from here for the next several years are really, really good.
We're moving this way big time.
Yeah. The trajectory is straight up the mountain, guys. That is for damn sure.
The end of 05.
Yeah. Really, realistically, you're right, man. I mean, so much good stuff coming up. And I mean, just Survivor Series 97, you people out there, that's coming up in 1, 2, 3, 4. In the fourth Big Five Project from now will be Survivor Series 97. You will not want to miss that one. That is going to be a big one.
We might have a panel.
I think we're going to have a panel, and we're going to need a panel for that one because that requires a lot of conversation. But until then, like I said, next time out, Canadian Stampede, we're going to do that probably in a couple weeks. We'll be back for that one. Guys won't want to miss that one either. But until next time, everybody who tuned in on the live stream tonight, thank you so much. To our friend Whistling Mike, thank you so much for engaging with us. We'll be talking to you guys soon. Until next time, wrestling fans, aggressionaholics, stay aggressive, do it with attitude. We'll catch you soon for more of the Big Five Project. Guys, take care of yourselves, man.
Mankind wants to win this. Photographer got knocked down. I don't know. Tom Buchanan, that photographer, was just nailed by Mankind as Mankind went flying out. And look at this. What kind of carnage could possibly continue as China looks on? This capacity crowd very much. They're cheering for Mankind, but there may be nothing left of Mrs. Foley's baby boy. There can't be. No, I can't believe it. Can't believe that. I can't believe that. How can Mankind do what he is doing? The kind of pain this man has endured, and here we go. Helmsley sets him up for the pedigree. Is that enough to beat him? It is. He's gone through the windshield. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, victorious.
Ladies and gentlemen,
is somebody going to help Mankind?
Your royal robe.
You know, the hell of the coronation, we got a man hurt here. In front of Mankind, look at this. How much humiliation. Is Helmsley.
Your scepter was destroyed, but here is your crown.
And Hunter Hearst Helmsley, ladies and gentlemen,